morning and welcome to the 84th online session of ICC Crack the Wellness Code. I'm Somnath, co-founder, executive director, ICC Crack the Wellness Code. Today is the seventh session of Wellness Support Group, which started in August and we are going to end in December. So today we're going to cover adoption of wellness habits focusing on occupational wellness. Now, this is definitely a new area for us. And so stay tuned. We'll unravel the mystery of occupational wellness and why it is important, what is it all about. And of course, this is definitely part of the 10 sessions that we are going to cover as in this series for the Wellness Support Group certification program, the first batch that we have initiated. So this gives you a quick glimpse of what occupational wellness could be. The rest, of course, we'll hear our experts. There'll be a lot of chance to interact, talk about various aspects of occupational wellness, and also how do you practice it in your life. So this is the learning objective, as you can see on your screen. Again, getting an idea, how do you really do this work-life balance? And we have an expert with us, Dr. Naras, Bhat, who's back with us again. He's been researching in this area for a long time, and his own life is a testimonial of how occupational wellness can be really, really evolved during your lifetime. So he's not only a medical practitioner, but he's a practitioner of certain lifestyles which are so significant for occupational wellness. This is today's agenda, as you can see, and it's a very, very topic the centric, because we're only going to talk about this aspect of occupational wellness. And of course, a lot of interaction as we have, but this time there'll be some exercises also, which will make it even more pragmatic than what one could actually acquire in one session. And finally, I want to tell you that it is very, very crucial to complete the survey that we have sent out. The survey was sent out more than 15 days ago, and then the second version, again, as a reminder, has come to you yesterday. However, for some reason, if you have missed it, we are putting in the chat box. If you have any questions, please hold your questions on the survey. We would like to spend some time today telling about the survey, because survey is very important for certification. Survey is very important to get your feedback, and the survey is very important for us to plan some future activities around you to benefit you. So please take the survey very seriously. And I want to thank some people who have actually taken the survey and given us a lot of useful feedback. And that is going to help everybody, including other members who have not been through these sessions, to join us in the next batch. We're also going to start chat groups, so we will be also talking about that. Sachin and I will go around today to see how we can, very quickly create the chat group and make it productive and interactive. Okay, and of course, we are also going to be doing some performance studies, and I will talk about that during this session today after Dr. Naresh Bhat has told me, gone through his presentation and his interaction. This is a usual slide we present so that you know about it, but just a reminder that it's not a direct doctor-patient relationship, but a third-party platform, but we help you to actually get connected to, various solution providers. And of course, we record this program and we use it for educational purpose. This is Dr. Naras Bhat. Many of you have known him, many of you have heard him, and he wears many hats, and he is ideally suited to talk to you about occupational wellness. And you will know why. I don't have to tell you much, but and you see this very accomplished background. He shared his wisdom internationally with over 100,000 people and conducted more than 500 seminars. So that basically speaks volumes about what he has done and what he's continuously doing for the community. His presentation at Cambridge University, which is entitled Time and Focus Management Tools for Stress Control, earned him recognition as one of the 2000 most outstanding scientists of the 21st century. And the rest of it you can see on the screen. And I'm sure Dr. Naras Bhat is going to highlight some of the pioneer work that he has done on burnout and stress. His book and some of the authorities globally, internationally renowned people on burnout and stress are some of those, his colleagues and his collaborators. So it's very, very interesting to hear from him. And before I go over to Dr. Naresh Bhat, I'm just putting this slide, and I would request Dr. Naresh Bhat to now just get ready with the slides.
Hello, everyone. And today, Som asked me to give a talk on occupational wellness. And the flip side of occupational wellness is the illness related to occupation, which is really stress and burnout. And the first thing I want to share with you is that what we used to call as occupation before COVID era and what we call as occupation now after COVID era are totally two different things. Yeah. Personal satisfaction and enrichment from one's work and what are the positive effects of it is that is occupational wellness is a sense of fulfillment. That is fulfillment of your life should be aligned with your occupation. So like I said, before COVID era, the occupational wellness was going to work, working with the people at your work site. Today, we are in a position wherein we work at home. So when you work at home, then you have to come home from your work. Or when you go to work, you have to exit from your home life and enter work. All happens at home. If you are a pujari, worshipping in the temple, work is worship or worship is work, whichever way you look at it, and you can burn out simply by worshiping. So that is why the new context of burnout or work stress is related to how we live our life now on in this post-COVID era. So occupational wellness, is directly focused on burnout by doing a task at hand, whether you call it as a job burnout or working from home. So I had the privilege of working with Dr. Christina Maslach at UC Berkeley. In fact, I worked with her for 15 to 20 years. She's a professor and head of the Department of Psychology, happens to be the world's foremost expert on burnout. So much so that she has created a questionnaire which is called the Maslach Burnout Questionnaire that I recommend all of you to visit the website and take the test and find out where you are in the process of burnout so that you can measure, monitor, and modify the process of burnout. There are 6 sources of burnout. The first one is called work overload. Overload, you have too much to work or you are too much of focused attention at the task at hand. So the principle of overload is intensity or duration both. And not only it is overwork, it is lack of control. We live in a culture wherein we believe control is making the other person to respond or to react to our way of life. In reality, the control is controlling your own reactivity or your own physiology. I often give this joke. What is the definition of a sweater? The definition of a sweater for adults is something makes you warm. The definition of a sweater for a baby is a sweater is a garment that the mother puts on the baby when the mother feels cold. So we believe Control is controlling somebody else. So in addition to that, the third key important factor is the insufficient reward. Whatever we do in our life, we want to be rewarded. There is a chemical called dopamine that is released in our brain when somebody says, Shabas, you did a very good job. You don't have to give any gift or money. That statement alone gives you that sense of reward. Often we work either at home or at work where your work is not appreciated. That is one of the reasons for burnout. And unfairness, that is the discrimination, between whether it is gender based, color based, income based discrimination. And that leads to breakdown of community of our connectivity. We human beings have two sides of the coin, human being and human doing. The human being is the being connected, that is called affiliation. Human doing is the power, possession, and money that we seek via our work. So the breakdown of the community is where you lose that connectedness, whether it is at work or at home, and that is a part of burnout. And finally, number six is the value conflict, the meaning of life. That is, why do you live? What is the purpose of life? Which is called the self realization of your goal. That is, in the Indian system, we call it the karma. Karma is your own alignment of your purpose in life. And that value conflict occurs when you burn out. And how does it manifest? It symptoms are emotional exhaustion. The emotional exhaustion is a step beyond the physical exhaustion or the mental exhaustion. It is the emotional exhaustion, which is the erosion of your soul that leads to feeling of cynicism and then impaired productivity, isolation. You feel alone even if you are in a cocktail party because your mind is rotating in its own domain of isolation. Then you start avoiding people. Then interpersonal conflicts occur. And if you are at work, that leads to high job turnover. Professional or occupational wellness means you need to work on two domains, the work environment and home environment. They are synergistic, and you need to focus on both aspects. That is self-care. And one very powerful tool we use, my wife is a PhD in psychology, she teaches this. In fact, she just did a teaching on this. I'm using her slide here. And that is that to boost your happiness, you need to focus on challenge, commitment, and control. You need to, like if you're an artist, whether you're a beginner or advanced one, you need to be challenged continuously so that you go to the next step so that you do not lose interest and become bored. And this, the challenge, commitment, control leads you to a state of flow. Flow is where you forget the sense of time and you forget yourself too. You forget and you focus on the task at hand. That is how we should live our life, whether you are at work or at home. And I recommend those of you who are interested to go to this website called viacharacter.org and then revisit and identify what is your strength and then use those tools of your strength, which is called the character strength, to enhance towards the fulfillment of your life. Now, work or occupation is one domain of your intelligence. You can be, that is logic smart is how good you speak. Nature smart is how you work with nature. Word smart, people smart, body smart, music smart, picture smart, and self intelligence or self realization smart. And we in India, we call it as the we are really the leaders to the world on in the domain of self realization. So, we often say you have a left brain and right brain. Right brain is analysis. I'm sorry, left brain is analysis information processing and problem solving, whereas the right brain is a synthesis, art, living, and so forth. If we could go over a number of principles of stress and burnout, and then I will give a very big, this is usually 1 hour of teaching at UC Berkeley in our class, sometimes 90 minutes, which I have been teaching for last 22 years. And then based on that, I wrote this book 20 years ago, that is Reversing Stress and Burnout, which is a textbook for my course at UC Berkeley. Now, 26 years ago, John Kabat-Zinn wrote this book called Wherever You Go, There You Are, which is more true today than any time in the past, because after post-COVID, in this post-COVID era, wherever you go, you need to take care of yourself at work or at home. And that is the principle of mindfulness. And I'm going to share with you a simple method of mindfulness. So before we go into it, let us understand what is stress, where stress came from, and how stress kills, and what is the solution for stress. So the first and foremost, what is stress? Stress is misplaced effort. In other words, if I am threading the needle, if I focus on the hand that is holding the needle and then take the thread and put the thread into the needle, if I am stressed, I cannot put that thread into the needle. Here is a classic example. If I do a contest of and give all of you a thread and a needle and say whoever threads a needle first is going to get a $10,000 reward. Now all of you are stressed. Ready, set, go, thread your needle. Okay, I got to win this contest, man. I'm going to get $10,000. That is misplaced effort. We often live our life like that. When there is a traffic jam, does it help any? If you grab the steering wheel and then press the gas pedal or the brake, does it help? No, because it's a misplaced effort. And that is stress. In physiological terms, we call it as the adrenaline gush or cortisol release and so forth. And there is a condition called acute stress and chronic stress. Chronic stress is vigilance. Acute stress is a fight or flight reaction. When the saber-toothed tiger came to attack us, either you run away or you fight. That is called fight or flight reaction. That is when adrenaline or epinephrine is released, your heart beats fast, your muscles are tense, you start sweating, and then you get confused. That is acute stress. Whereas chronic stress is so insidious and slow, you're not aware that it is even happening. The classic example I give is, if you take a live frog and put it on a hot cup or a hot bucket, the frog will try to scramble out of the bucket. On the contrary, if you take a bucket full of cold water and put a live frog in it and gently hit the bucket from below, as the temperature is rising to 70 to 80 degrees, the frog sings in that warm water, hey man, this feels like a California hot tub. And when you increase the temperature further, the frog dies in the boiling water, which is called the boiled frog syndrome. We live our life that way. You insidiously feel the stress, and then you burn out, like that frog. So where did this stress come from? The stress came from the fact that how we work differently today, which is focused on the job stress. In olden days, you were paid by monthly salary or lifelong employment like it was in old India or in Japan. Today, you're paid by the piece rate or the time rate. Piece rate, how many apples you pick, how many cars you wash. And a time rate, whether you're paid the minimum wages of $15 or the $500 per hour of attorney's fee. So if you are paid by the piece rate, the employee gets stressed. If you are paid by the time rate, the employer gets stressed. That is because the watched pot never boils, but the one who watches boils. So this job stress came today from the agricultural era where we honored the season and the sunrise and sunset and lived our life with nature. Then came the industrial era where the matter motion was the machine took over human work. And today we live in the information age where we believe that we should be as fast as computer, and then information processing and problem solving using the computer era, and then that is the digital age. Specifically, it is important because we look at our iPad or your cell phone more than look at pairs of eyes. Yeah, people's eyes. The simple rule I have is, count yourself how many moments in your day you look at somebody's eyes compared to using your eyes to look at the screen in your phone or in the computer. And the simplest way to do that, let me give you the solution right now. That is simply focus your awareness on your belly button. That is your center. In the Indian system, we call it as Nabi. Whatever you're doing, every now and then focus your center. That is your belly button. That is the spot where you are connected to your mother, and that is metaphorically how you're connected to Mother Nature. And if you focus on your belly button and then think, am I using my eyes to look at somebody else's eyes? Or am I using my eyes to look at the screen? That is the digital age of burnout prevention. And that is why John Kabat-Zinn said, wherever you go, there you are. And so job stress, they found out, maximum number of heart attacks occur Monday morning. So it was one of those, our previous president's method of thinking. That is, they said, if maximum number of heart attacks occur Monday morning, where I am going to declare Monday as a holiday for everybody. So what's going to happen? Tuesday morning, you'll have maximum number of heart attacks. So that is why job stress is the key. Anyway, another aspect of job stress is competition. Competition today has become legalized hostility. There are two kinds of competition. Those of you who know, tennis, you win because you make the other person fail. In golf, you win because you excel. So the competition we had to switch to increasing your excellence, and then rather than projecting your hostility. So what is the solution for stress? The solution for stress is either it is willpower, pill power, or skill power. Willpower, you can pop a pill like a tranquilizer, or people get drunk so that they can forget their stress. The willpower, that is a pill power. And the willpower is, hey man, I have the mind control. I can control stress. Willpower will not control your stress. You need to use your body rather than using your mind to overpower your body. You want to use your body to overpower your mind. Your body is your buddy. In India, we say, Sharira Madhyam hi Kalu Dharma Sadhanam. Your body is your most powerful tool to win your pursuit. Now, when I say you don't have control over your mind, you only have control over your body, and then people say, how is it? Let me prove it to you, all of you listening there. Now, two experiments. One, all of you, as you are listening to me, raise your right hand up. Can you do that? Raise your right hand up and put your hand down. You have excellent control over your body. Now, all of you, close your eyes and don't think of a monkey. Just don't think of a monkey. The more you try to not think of the monkey, your monkey mind thinks of the monkey. Open your eyes. That is why you don't have control over your mind, you have control over your body. So we use a tool called visiting different parts of your body. Whenever you are stressed, focus your awareness on different parts of the body, starting from your belly button. That is the center of your body. So, I mean, we don't have much time to do all of these exercises, but let me just give the idea of it. You focus your awareness on your belly button, and the next moment, go up from top to bottom, your forehead, your eyes, your cheeks, your mouth, your neck, your shoulders, and then your upper chest and abdomen, right leg, left leg, and so forth. The moment you focus on your body, you are relaxed. This is called a body scan. They have done a lot of research on this at the university. That is a Harvard University and Massachusetts. So, willpower is, and the pill power and skill power I mentioned. The five low hanging fruits of developing your skill to combat stress are: number one, uprooting anger; number two, meditation and imagery; number three is self disclosure; number four is rest and activity; number five is mindful eating. In our extensive research over the last 40 years, these five elements have tested to be true over and over again. That is, once again, uprooting anger. We have a full 1 hour teaching on how to manage anger. Simply put, anger is the feeling that the other person is not fitting your agenda. And the easiest way to counter anger is focus your awareness on your heart and ask this one simple question: can I experience caring love or loving kindness towards this person here and now? When your mind says yes, you have exited from the judgmental anger mode and entered the camaraderie or the caring mode. And this alone is the simplest tool to counter anger. We have software, computer software, to demonstrate it. But you don't need all of that. Anytime and anywhere, whenever you meet any person, your friend or your enemy, ask this one question. Look at their eye and or even look at their heart and say, can I experience caring love or loving kindness towards this person now? When your mind answers yes, then you are in a state of heartfelt resonance that controls anger. So the second tool is meditation and imagery. Meditation can, we teach, in a 1 hour session, but the simplest thing to learn is that meditation is exiting your conscious level. We human beings have four states of mind: being awake, sleep with dream, and sleep without dream, and then finally the meditative state, which is in Indian system called Turiya. Turiya, which means it's the twilight state. It is neither morning nor evening. It is the twilight. And the twilight is before your sleep or before being awake. And that is the meditative state, alpha theta state, as we call it in brain waves. You can enter and exit it wherever you are, whenever you are, whenever you want, simply by focusing your awareness on your belly and observing your breathing. Whatever else you are doing in your life, you have to breathe anyway, right? If you have to breathe anyway, observe your breathing in your belly and in your belly button. And then you don't have to close your eyes. That is the simplest way of entering a meditative state. And the next tool is self disclosure. We live in a culture we are so self-centered, and we have a tool called a time, touch, and talk. At the end of the day, you have a disclosure partner. If you don't have anybody, pick up the phone and talk to somebody. That is a time, touch, and talk. That is at least 15 to 20 minutes per day. Share your emotional experience. What happened to your body? How many times you had racing heart or sweaty palms or restless mind during the day, and why it happened and how you felt it and how you overcame it. This is called time touch. First, in olden times before COVID, we had a lot of chance to touch, but now you can touch remotely with a 6 foot pole or whatever. Okay, so time, touch, and then talk. What do you talk? Not about the politics or anything, any gossip. Talk about how your body manages that emotional action on your muscles, and organs of your body. Share it with somebody. That is healing. That is self realization. And the rest and activity is the third tool I mentioned. And that's the rest and activity, or third or fourth tool. Rest and activity, synchronizing your life to sunrise and sunset, which is called circadian rhythm. Particularly after we have the computers, people use too much of your time on the computer screen, which are the five screen times: computer, video games, television, and then all of these digital instruments you have, the phone and whatever else you use. And so stay away from it, especially after sunset. And then if you have to, for any reason, use blue light blocking goggles so that your melatonin secretion synchronizes with the sunset. And then eating. Eating is the last tool. That is mindful eating. Is you are what you eat was our old slogan. And now you we added to that. You are when you eat. It is not only good food, but when you eat. You must eat between sunrise and sunset. And additionally, once every now and then, go on fasting, upavas. That heals you. That controls your stress. And so we have done extensive teaching on intermittent fasting. My favorite is 16-8, 16 hours of fasting and an 8-hour window of eating. And that synchronizes, in fact, to your gut biome or gut bacterial system, because they need some rest as well. And then you heal. So finally, before we open up for question and answer, I have this particular message to give you all, and that has been my signature message. That is, all said and done, there is only one thing of value in our life, and that is the heartfelt feeling. In an Indian system, we say, Hrit Prano. Your life is in your heart. Heart is metaphorically the heart as well as the anatomical heart. So my signature message, ever since I got into this field for the last 40 years, has been live with your heart in mind. So with that note, let me open up for questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Naras Bhat. First of all, I must acknowledge my hearty thanks to all of you, because as news pour in all over, I'm sure there are a lot of us who are following that. And despite we see so many of you here. So having said that, I would like to take up questions from the chat box. And also, if you directly want to ask questions to Dr. Naras Bhat, please do that. Okay. I would encourage all of you to, come on video to the extent possible. Okay. and pose questions directly to Dr. Naresh Bhat. Just raise your hand and ask the question to Dr. Naresh Bhat, or just announce your name briefly and ask your questions to Dr. Naresh Bhat. And anything that comes in the chat box, I shall certainly be posing those questions. But I wanted to ask you some very fundamental questions, Dr. Bhatt, before we start. We talked about stress, burnout, and we talked about, so many other aspects of being centered, trying to be away from the screen and focusing more on, the eye of the human than just the screen, and so many other things that you said. Can you give us some good examples on occupational wellness? Because you yourself has been managing so many things. One of the fundamental things that you mentioned, Dr. Bhatt, is that this whole work-life balance, and we have heard it many times, people know about it, may not be something very new, but could you give us some examples? Some of it came on a very philosophical tone from you regarding what is it that how we should use our eyes, how we should be centered using the umbilical cord and all those stuff, right? The navel, etc. But when it comes to reality, the body and the mind are in conflict, and you cannot really manage them as well. And when you get into an occupational situation, whatever we are doing, whatever you said, time rate, piece rate, it doesn't happen. So could you give us some examples and some example from your own life? Because, one thing which is really, really admirable about yourself is that you've set up so many clinics yourself, right? And I understand during the COVID, you have acquired some more clinics. At the same time, you're teaching, you are researching, you are working for the community. How do you manage to do it? How does your occupation, does it impact your health or the burnout, your own burnout, your own stress? How do you do that? And what kind of lessons you can actually, offer that they can go back home today, that they have come here to hear us, and something that they can benefit and practice. So over to you, Dr. Narsbat.
Okay, here's a very good topic you brought up, and that is, my family and I, we have been practicing what we teach, because this is our laboratory where we learn how to teach others and we experiment it. Number one, people have a misconception that work life has to be work versus life has to be balanced, and that is a misconception. And where let me ask you that whether you are at work or at home, it is just the same person. You're taking yourself from work to home or from home to work. Instead, what if you blend the two together such a way that work is home, home is work? So that's how we work at work. We are continuously available for our family because we all work together as a family, which we call it as a family clinic, because our whole family is working in the clinic. Now, Jeff Bezos, right? The Amazon guy, versus considered to be the world's wealthiest man. I urge you to go and visit his teaching about the work-life balance, which happens to be the one that we have been following. That is, there is not dichotomy between work and home, because it is like, it is a synergistic. To give you a crude example, have you seen the Korean airline symbol where, the half of one engulfs the other? That is, it is like a day and night, one engulfs the other. So primarily, think of yourself as the same person in both places. Put your heart into the task that you do with the simple thing. How can I make a difference for somebody else by the simple task that I do at this moment? If you carry this message, everything that you do, you're now not going to be stressed, because you're not competing with everybody. You are just using the best value you have of your heart-centered living and then putting into tasks that happens to be useful to others. And that's how we run our clinic. And now, I practice from home telemedicine after the COVID problem came. And so we do that same thing from here as well. That's what I recommend. And so there's one question somebody asked here. I think it's Susan. And the question she asked is, can you elaborate on the 20-minute self-disclosure? Very, very important question. And so we have tested this method with thousands of people in our hospital. For 15 years, we conducted evening clinics, for heart patients. And one thing that happens in our, particularly the Western lifestyle, is that you talk about people and events and then or outside world of the power, possession, and money most of the time when you talk. You do not talk about how you are struggling with the actions and reactions of your body and your mind. In old world where we come from in India, we had partners at home, our own family or our friends, that we can sit and talk. Look, this happened to me, that happened to me. And then, I started having backache, or my heart started racing when this guy yelled at me, and so forth. Today, we have to put it in the calendar as an agenda to do it every day. So what we recommend is every day, ideally at the end of the day, you have a disclosure partner, need not be in your home with anybody. Then tell them, look, from morning till evening, these are the different times when I felt that I am living in my body, in terms of when I felt good, when I didn't feel good, when my muscles became tense, I started headache, and why and how. What ABC is the easiest way to remember. Antecedent, B is a behavior, and C is a consequence. So what antecedent item, like a outside object or people, or inside of your own thoughts, that antecedents, and then behavior is how it manifested in your body, and what consequences happened. And touch, let me clarify. In today, we live in a culture where touch is only in a contact sport or social handshake. We do not touch each other like the mother caresses the baby. Okay, that kind of touch, which is called, this is they call agape in Greek language, which means caring love or loving kindness. Mamata, Vasalya, Karuna, Preeti. These are all in Indian language we say. And these you have to experience only with the touch with another human being. The most permissible part of touch, even with a stranger, happens to be beyond handshake, between the elbow and your wrist. And in our heart disease clinic, we taught everybody how to touch with another. If you go visit a patient in the hospital, where do you touch? I mean, you do have the permission to touch between their elbow and their wrist. And that is besides holding hands. And so this is what we taught, and it works. And you start doing it, and you will see how relieved you feel, because the pent-up emotion creates stress inside you by releasing those stress hormones. In my book, I have a cartoon that the child goes and opens up the dryer door and then tells, oh, the agitation stops when I open it up. So the agitation in your mind stops when you open it up. And then, so that's the simple way to explain the 20 minutes of self-disclosure.
So that's definitely a take-home practice for many. Any related question? This is a very important point. This 20 minutes. I think different people will have different ways. And Dr. Bhat, of course, demonstrated and illustrated a very very pragmatic way that he does it. And what is very important, he has been sharing 20 years of experience. So obviously, this has worked, right? So this is not something which is imaginary. So any related questions on that topic?
Dr. Bhatt, I have a question I would like to ask. You mentioned something about the Monday blues, right? The Monday
Right.
blues.
Monday heart attack.
Yes. So, means I'm sure everybody endorses it. Most people we meet, always I hear them saying, I hate my job. And I always ask them, like, why don't you take a pause and really think? The one which provides you security, food, and shelter, how can you hate it? And if you hate it, why you do it? Uh, so like, will you shed some light? How can people do little soul searching on? You have to do what you have to do, but maybe most people do what they want to do. But if sometimes maybe you are not doing what you want to do, how can you make peace with it?
Excellent question. Because now, if you look at the first slide that we talked about, that is the people feel this way, they hate their job due to either interpersonal conflict or they have decreased sense of reward for the task that they are doing.
Right.
And that there could be appreciation from the supervisor or the underpaid or versus overpaid and so forth. So what you need to first and foremost is that so that resentment or cynicism internally you develop, you have to overcome it, because if you quit this job and go to another job, you are taking yourself with you.
Right.
If you
Yes.
divorce a person and go and find another person to get married, you're taking yourself with you to that person.
Right.
So learn altruism. Learn altruism, and your role is to manage your reactivity. And in this case, as you said, the reactivity of that person who hates his job is that they are not aligning themselves. How do you align yourself? Like I mentioned, every task you do at home or at work, center yourself on your belly button and ask, can I do it for a contribution? That is, can I experience caring love or loving kindness? Because here is the one simple message I have in that context. The person you hated may still live, but you would die in stewing you in your own cynical juices, anger juices. For that reason, to save yourself, you have to understand, and not a statement, it is a state of caring love that needs a little bit of introspection. And this is where mindfulness comes into play.
Another question, which is related to the external environment, Dr. Bhatt. This question basically is that, Dr. Bhatt, you have spoken much of personal assessment and orientation, but another source of stress can be external, especially when your inner orientation is in conflict with the world around you. What do you suggest as a means to negotiate with your environment to strike the very blended experience of which you speak?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. External environment is either objects or people. Okay. If it's an object like a noise, then you perhaps have to relocate. And if the noise is bothering you, or that kind of thing. But when it is people, then again the original principle comes into play. That is, it is you who have to conduct yourself in the context of the society. And so you need to learn to adjust your body first, then your mind to that. So simplest simplest activity that we recommend is called the Shinrin, I think it's the Japanese, that is a nature bath. Okay. You, in addition to being mindfulness of your body, be mindful of the trees, the greens, the nature. Research have repeatedly shown that particularly in the morning sun, like an hour or two after sunrise, if you go out in the forest, it is called forest bath in Japan, and that really aligns you, it blends you, because we are hardwired to the nature, nature with the big N, that is the universal power is in the nature. And then once you are mindful of your perception of that nature, what you see, what you smell, what you touch, and kinesthetically, what your body feels intuitively, and that blending with the nature wherever you are, a single tree is good enough. More trees, you are taking a very deep immersion in that nature bath.
Thank you, Dr. Bhat.